going to return to the gift that keeps on giving. That is the mess going on at Wisła Krakow. We did a whole episode about this last week. You can find it on the site or on the Facebook page. And we decided to come back to this issue because
there's more.
There's more. We were going to have just a short bit about it in the news episode, but we said, there's enough for like a whole another separate episode about this. So let's just talk about Wisła again. So I think the previous episode was called Wisła Krakow was fucked up. This one will be called Wisła Krakow still fucked up. Let's start with I'll tell you what, guys. I got a few bits and pieces of news. So I'm going to throw it out to you. You tell me what you think. Let's start with the fact that Marjana Sarapata, who's the ex-chairwoman of the club, she resigned last month in the middle of this mess. She is missing, and I don't know if she's formally, officially wanted by the police, but she definitely will be. The prosecutor person of interest. Prosecutor wants to talk to her. So, where do you think she is, and what kind of explanation do you think she's going to give when she returns?
Vegas. I don't know.
She got sick on a flight over.
Yeah, just like Vanna Lee, she got sick. I mean, could you send any more? Could you send a clearer signal to the authorities that something dodgy is going on than just disappearing?
Well, it's winter break. Maybe she's off skiing in, the Alps or something.
Switched her phone off. Didn't realize anything was happening at work.
Yeah, perfectly innocent explanation for this. Yeah, the prosecutor's involved here because about a week ago, just after we recorded the previous episode talking about Wisła, the police, on the orders of the prosecutor, the police executed a search of a number of places associated with the club, including obviously the club headquarters, but also including Marjana Sarapata's apartment.
Wouldn't that be a number of searches then?
And searches. And they just basically collected all these records, and they recorded this. They put up a video on YouTube, believe it or not, of them going into the Wisła offices and just, emptying cabinets and picking up boxes of documents.
Look at us investigating.
And
we're like millennials.
But I found the video a little bit weird. Isn't there a presumption of innocence that kind of is compromised?
We certainly have given Wisła Krakow on this show.
Have to. It's a fundamental legal principle. You kind of have to assume they're innocent until proven guilty. I thought that was a bridge too far.
We beat them like a piñata every week, John.
Okay, that's true. And they're guilty as hell. They're absolutely guilty. So there's a lot of dodgy stuff going on. But from the perspective of the police, this is my question. From the perspective of the police, isn't it odd to put up on YouTube to put the video up of you
due process
searching their headquarters? Is that too much?
I don't know. It's an interesting moral quandary you've raised, John. I wasn't expecting such a question.
No, I haven't thought about it.
Maybe they're crowdsourcing an investigation. They want millions of people to look at the video and see if somebody notices something.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they're just. I assume they're not revealing anything from the investigation. It's just their way of saying, "Look, we're on it like a carp on it," and we also use Twitter.
Oh, and did you mention the fact that they also had sniffer dogs with them? So they're not.
They always look good when you're searching something. You sniff that. What are we looking for? Just sniff.
Like a body in a filing cabinet.
It's entirely possible basically. There. Who knows? Yeah. The big criticism, of course, in the reader comments and all these stories about the police action was, why are you doing it now? This is this is probably about 2 weeks, or maybe closer to 3 weeks after, everything really started, all this news started coming out 2 weeks after she resigned from the club, and only now they're going to try to secure these documents. Don't you think anything incriminating is long gone?
We should have got that last episode of the KrakCast out quicker, then we would have been more up to speed with what was going on.
It's our fault. It's our fault.
So much is happening right now. It's like, yeah.
So come on, what else is happening, John? A bit of narrative thrust here.
What, that's not good enough for you? The police raiding the headquarters of the club?
All right, so the YouTube video is all optics. Okay, yeah. The police are taking a strangely lackadaisical approach to everything here.
Well, suddenly everything involved with the club is under a microscope. And suddenly we're learning things that probably could have been discovered easily, way before now if anybody had bothered to look. And one of those things, this is kind of an interesting side note, speaking of Sarapata, she comes from a family in a place nearby Krakow called Kalwaria Żebrydowska.
Oh, where all the carpenters are.
That's right, where all the furniture comes from.
The famous carpentry hinterland.
And her dad runs a cafe there.
Beautifully wooded out as well, it is, I'm sure.
And the cafe, again, run by the father of the ex-chairwoman of the club, has a sign up there. The sign says Wisła Sharks. I'm showing the guys here in the studio a picture right now. It says Wisła Sharks. And under that, it says Kalwaria bez Żydowska.
Ooh.
Jew-free Kalwaria, right?
despicable.
Jew-free Calvaria. Now, how do you want to jump on this? What angle do you want to take on this, guys?
Well, they don't mean real Jews, do they? They mean fans of Cracovia.
That's true. They're talking about Cracovia, whom the Wisła supporters refer to as Jews because the Jewish history of the club. It's complicated, but that's how it is. But still,
exactly. But still,
seems like a bit.
So
much.
she's connected to the hardcore hooligans.
No doubt about it. Remember, she defended the boss of the hooligans in court from assault charges or whatever the exact charge was, unsuccessfully.
She is Princess Sharapata of the hooligan movement.
Yeah, no doubt about it.
The respectable face of hooliganism in the Kraków region.
So it's all the evidence is there for anybody who cares to open their eyes and acknowledge what it is. She's intimately involved in this hooligan underground. Remember, one of her last acts as chairwoman was to transfer 300,000 zlotys to a fan association that everybody knows is run by the hooligan element. And then she quit. After she also transferred 60,000 zlotys to her husband, who owns a company who printed the match day programs, and then she disappears.
How's the new fella getting on?
Who knows?
Who knows who the new fella is?
Who cares? We want to talk about the old one. If the new guy's honest and competent, we don't want to talk about him.
Make the new boss say goodbye to the old boss. Yeah. Someone wrote a song about that, I think.
So also in the news with Wisła this week, 3 people stepped forward with a plan to at least partially save the club financially. 2 local businessmen and Jakub Błaszczykowski.
Bless his heart.
Dave, give us a quick background on who he is.
Oh, he's a big deal. He's part of Klopp's title-winning teams, Borussia Dortmund. He's been a top player in Germany for a long time. I believe he's with Wolfsburg at the moment. They must be ending his contract. There was a congratulatory tweet from Borussia, so this story might actually start to get some play now in the English media. Now that a tweet has been tweeted from the Yellow Wall.
Wisła was Błaszczykowski's boyhood club, and he's announced he's returning to the club wage-free, and also...
That's kind of an academic point, isn't it? No one's getting...
That's true. Also putting his own money into the club, not sure how much. But between these 3 people, again, Błaszczykowski and these 2 local businessmen, they say they're putting 4 million zlotys into the club. Most of that money, or much of the money, dedicated to paying the back wages of the players. Now...
Yeah, they're saying Błaszczykowski's given €300,000 of his own money. Which that's true. Fair play to the guy. I mean,
doesn't this seem to be the first step? Not only because it's the right thing to do to pay the outstanding wages, but don't they have to secure the players first as a necessary first step towards making sure they stay in the top division? In other words,
I imagine there'll be a negotiation with the league about obtaining the license to continue playing in the Extra
as well.
If that fails, if the Extra don't license them to play, then they got a big problem. I mean, there's no option for them but to play in the 4th division, and then they will release all their players because they won't be able to afford to pay their wages anyway.
Is this a chicken and the egg situation where if they lose their top league players, they won't be competitive in the league even if they stay?
I think the Błaszczykowski thing's a game changer. He's got such a good image in Poland. He's so well loved that it's going to give a bit of goodwill behind actually finding a resolution rather than holding Wisla's feet to the fire for mismanagement and thuggish elements, etc. He could be the best thing that happened to that club. I think he's really, he's going to have to be careful though, because he's got a great reputation in Poland, isn't he? He's seen as very much the golden boy of Polish football. Everybody loves him.
Nice guy, yeah,
the nice guy.
Plus, I think since the players will get some money now, they'll be kind of guilt tripped into staying with the club, even if they can run away. Which
Yeah, but we're still, correct to say that it's a club with seriously dodgy elements who are infested right into the central structure of the club and how it runs. So now Błaszczykowski's going to be associated with these people. He's going to have to be careful not to have his image tarnished, to have a some kind of general manager of the club who's completely respectable. That'll be interesting to see who he can draw that maybe they wouldn't have been able to get without his involvement.
Safe to assume he has tens of millions of euros in the bank.
I would say he would have been on, for the bulk of his career in Germany in the 30 to 35, 40,000 euro per week bracket, roughly, maybe.
Okay, so he's got a good amount of money in the bank. So.
I wouldn't say, in Germany, the wages now wouldn't be as high as in England, and Borussia Dortmund don't pay the big bucks like Bayern. So, he'll be a wealthy man, but it's not like he can afford to lose 300 grand. It would be still a few percent of his net worth, I would imagine.
Yeah, it's a lot of money, but it seems to be, or this has to be a sentimental thing for him. His boyhood club, he's got a chance to ride in.
Absolutely.
He's got a chance to ride in like a white knight and save everybody, but that's a fraction of the money they really need. Any number of legitimate businessmen have looked at this and passed, and we talked about that before already. So I don't see how this ends well for him financially.
What's to say if he managed to obtain some shares in the club that in 10 years' time they want to have completely turned the situation around, doing well in Europe, and old Cuba be sitting pretty.
Yeah, but it's the same with these businessmen. They, when you hear them talking about their motivations for trying to help the club, it's never I see a valuable asset that's undervalued, and I have a plan for kind of steering things back to success. It's always we have to do this, we have to save our community and this part of the city, and it's always vague, sentimental reasons. And it's the kind of thing you wouldn't hear if people were talking about any other kind of business.
Yeah, that's completely true. That's the point I was making last week. That's why they're so hard to kill off a football club. They go bankrupt, but they always come back.
One last note on the world of football before we wrap it up. Actually, this comes from the other side of Błonia, which means from the Cracovia Stadium. I know we're talking about Wisła, but this is a little nugget that illustrates just how completely...
Why don't you put that word?
He loves to jump on me when I say nugget. What's wrong with nugget? I like nugget.
Just don't like it as a
nugget of news. Chicken nugget and news nugget. Anyway,
gold nugget.
It comes from Cracovia. And again, it just illustrates how completely, profoundly messed up this world is, the world of Polish football. The Krakow prosecutor this week sent a formal, what do we call it in English? Act oskarżenia. When someone's formally charged with a crime. The former head of security for Cracovia was charged with intentionally helping people to bring in flares and explosives into the Cracovia Stadium 2 years ago during the derby against Wisła, and thus endangering, people in the stadium. So the head of security caught red-handed, and believe me, the Polish prosecutor doesn't pursue a case unless it's a slam dunk. There's no gray area here at all. So the head of security for Cracovia let people bring in flares and explosives into his own stadium. How pathetic is this, or are we not surprised?
Not surprised.
Not surprised.
This is just how it is. If you've ever been to a Cracovia match or a Wisła match, when you look at the people who are running security, it's not hard to believe that they are very good friends with the people that they are allegedly searching and patting down and whatnot.
They don't look like the guys that should be patting you down. They look like the guys that should be patted down themselves.
The last Wisła match I went to, I think it was against Legia. This is about 4 or 5 years ago, against Legia Warszawa. And the Legia Warszawa fans, they had... I don't know what they were exactly, but they were proper explosives. Like C4 kind of stuff. The noise and the smoke and the flames.
Well, they said the fans were going to bring down the house.
There's absolutely no way that you get that kind of stuff into a stadium unless you have friends.
I'm still very confused about what happens next. And
with Wisła,
poor Kuba's 300 grand getting chewed up in 2 weeks, and I'm getting nothing for it. I don't see him turning out in the 4th division. So what makes me wonder is he put together a more impressive team of people behind the scenes to maybe step in here? Is there going to be a plan put forward in the next weeks and months? Is there discussions going on with the league? I think all of that's probably ongoing. I just don't see how a guy like Kuba Błaszczykowski risks his reputation without having some more of a plan than we've heard in the media reports thus far. I'm very curious to see the next development in this story.
Yeah, me too, but I've kind of given up on kind of trying to predict where this is going to go.
I'm betting big on Kuba.
You think so?
He's got one of them real trustworthy faces, man, loves Jesus, he's got lots going for him, man, he just looks like a reliable fella. Everyone in Poland tells me Błaszczykowski's all right.
I don't know. To be honest, I'm kind of reached the point.
It's up there with Camel Stoke levels of love.
I kind of want to see them go down. I got no dog in this fight. I don't care. I'm not a fan. I'm not a hater.
It's our best fodder for news.
But I just want to see them get what they deserve, and they very much deserve to implode.
Yeah, we're going to have a huge gap in our scheduling if it all gets sorted out, aren't we?
I disagree in one sense. The majority of the Wisła fans are just football fans. I agree the Sharks are a very distasteful element. I agree that there's been some outrageous corruption at the club down the years. But, the average man on the street that supports Wisła doesn't deserve to see his club, his great, proud club, buried in the fork.
Okay, that's fair enough. But maybe this could be the spark.
That's why it'll come back.
Could be the spark that starts a broader movement to clean up Polish football generally.
In fairness, I think that's been the broad trend over the years, but there's still a lot to do. Yeah.
Well, we'll keep an eye on it. Actually, you can't not keep an eye on it because the news pops up constantly. You follow any kind of local media. There's like daily, hourly updates on which direction the whole story has gone in, and we'll see what happens when Marjana Sharapata resurfaces from wherever she is, what her explanation is for where she's been. We'll see where the prosecutor's going to go with this,
and we'll also repost our old piece, Stadiums of Hate, John. I think our listeners mightn't have seen that one. That was a very early episode. Yeah, a bit of background. If you want to dive deeper into the Wisła experience.
All right. Well, until our next Wisła episode, thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time on the KrakCast.